It is indeed a pleasure to have this privilege to play here for you. And we intend to give you a very fine program, so just settle back, relax, and enjoy the moment.
Mic check, check. Mic check, check. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, y'all. What up, Laura? What up, Debbie? Good morning, Debbie, on Facebook. Good morning, everybody who's watching on Facebook. Shout out new follower, I guess. Jamie Lupin. What's up? Good morning, Whiskey Neat. What's up, Denise on Twitch? D Bartlett. How y'all doing? Hey, what's up? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Shout out to y'all hear me okay? Thumbs up. Let me know. Participate. Crowd participation. You know, we move with a hip hop spirit, right? Let me know if you can hear me okay. Look like everything is going good here. I'm looking at my mic right here. You can see me okay. Good. All right. Yeah, I'm really happy to be back. Yeah, been a tough week. What up? Oh yeah. Good. Thank you, Denise. Hey D, how you doing, D? Thank you, D. It's been a tough week for me personally. I'm not really at liberty to say too much, but just know that we're getting there. Surrounded by amazing family and surrounded by amazing friends. And I left town so let me just Wayback Machine. So the last time y'all saw me, if you were on Twitch, not Facebook, you saw me in a hotel room. I was not in Charleston. I went up north to be with friends and family during this time. Right now I'm going through really deep transition. I no longer work at the Cypress Fund, right? So I'm going through that, and so I took some time off. And so I'm up north, but before that, y'all saw me in the Charleston International Airport, trying to get everyone to snap into a call to action. I was issuing a call to action. I want to say shout out Rita, my girl Rita. Rita was the one to give me the call. I'm sitting in the terminal about an hour or so away from boarding, and Rita hits me up and was like, yo, did you see this? And this is the funny thing. That morning, Thursday morning, I definitely went live on both Facebook and on Twitch, right? And that morning, I opened that story. Y'all know, I opened that story about city council, but I did not take my time. And sometimes what I do, sometimes I have the luxury of reading through each article that I discuss on Twitch. Not all the time, right? But sometimes I have the luxury of doing that. I did not take my time going through that article to get to the part where they talk about the special meeting. But it just so happened that I had looked up with either the day before or the 2 days before. I looked up when the next city council meeting was, and I was trying to look at the agendas, and I saw the 29th there. But didn't know what it was. I thought it was Ways and Means, which there was a Ways and Means meeting on the 29th. Anyway, long story short, Rita put me on, gave me the broad strokes. She said, can you use your platform to tell people about this ordinance that city council is about to vote on? And I said, absolutely. And so I just started to not only, issue a call to action. Hey, what's up, Johnny James? Not only did I issue a call to action, I had to find all the links and then link them in my Instagram stories. And then, y'all saw what happened, right? And I just want to say shout out to not just Rita, shout out to all of y'all who just was on it, who just took it and ran and called city council. You see how they limited citizens' participation. They came up with all these fugazi justifications as to why they would not listen to the people. And then you saw a lot of shenanigans. We're gonna get to that. I'm gonna let y'all know we're gonna run a little long right today. So like, if you gotta go to work, y'all know the drill. You gotta go to work. Go to work, but come back later, watch either on Twitch. I'm going to upload this to Facebook later. I've been doing that pretty consistently. Go to work, whatever. Treat this like you would any other. If you consume your news in the morning via like CBS This Morning or your local news feed, consume it just like that. All right, and so you can always come back and watch the rest. But I'm gonna go long because I really want to do my due diligence as it pertains to breaking down what City Council did. And that meeting is about, I think, almost under 40 minutes. And I want to break down some of the observations that people in my inner circle lifted up, and also just basically what I'm observing. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Lindsey Graham and COVID, which is not, I think I just talked about it. Lindsey Graham got COVID, said he was happy to get the vaccine. I might pull up a story. I get the front page of the Post and Courier. I might do that. But I mean, now the GOP is trying to, the vaccines are safe and effective. Yeah, if I didn't have the vaccine, COVID would be worse. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock, right? So anyway, not going to spend too much time on Lindsey Graham getting COVID. And we're going to talk about the Olympics. And it's really interesting how the Olympics have been engaged locally by both people I know, people of color, Black people, people from the African diaspora, Latinx populations here in Charleston, in the Low Country, and how, of course, our elected officials really, really love these brown and Black Olympians. You really, really love them. But shout out to you. Shout out to my listeners, my streamers. I don't know. Shout out to all you who float me information about how some of these Olympians were treated before they even got a medal. I'm looking at you, City of Charleston. I'm looking at you, Tecklenburg. Did this shit with Ranky Tanky too. And now I want to just preface it by saying this. My views are my views. I don't know any of the Olympians personally. I'm not speaking on their behalf. These are my observations. This is my commentary about how it's so great that our city is heaping so much praise on these Olympians, but yet not really. They wasn't with them shooting in the gym. Yeah, I mean, you wasn't in there you wasn't in the gym with them shooting. You wasn't in there. You wasn't subsidizing shit. You wasn't doing anything. And so, and I said this when we were talking about how we watch or consume the panel that was assembled to talk about the insurrection, the panel of law enforcement officials who gave their heart wrenching accounts. Their heart-wrenching accounts of what took place during the insurrection on January 6th, right? So, hold on real quick. Let me do some housekeeping on Twitch. Hold up. Boom, bip. Okay, good. Boom. So when we were watching the cops, give their testimony, I made this observation, and this don't really have nothing to do with Tecklenburg and all these white elected officials now heaping praise on these Black and brown Olympians trying to, insert themselves and center themselves in this historic moment. And I think the Post and Courier, I think y'all did Raven dirty. Like, y'all couldn't have picked a better picture to put on the front page of the Sunday paper. I'm not saying like that's her picture. I love it, but like, anyway, to me, there was so many other things she did that were like amazing. Anyway. But like with the cops, I told you, I was like, well, how does someone who believes in abolition, someone who has abolitionist value, how do I listen to this testimony and take it and I believe these cops, and my heart is broken for these cops. Last night we just learned that 2 more cops committed suicide. 2 more cops who were protecting the Capitol, who were there during the insurrection on January 6th. We learned that 2 more cops lost their lives. I'm a human being before I'm anything else, and so there's so much compassion and empathy I have, but how do you listen to those harrowing accounts of how they survived all that white supremacist terror? How do you listen to that and not engage in the hero worship that the press almost requires you to do? Like, how do you not walk away with, okay, well, this cop endured this, and therefore, like, we can't be critical of law enforcement, right? And in fact, we had the African American cop on the panel wearing thin blue line sash over his badge, right? It was very complicated. And what I'm trying to say is, I said all that to say, like we have to be able to, I guess, I had to compartmentalize, but maybe it's like, again, dual consciousness, right? Like 2 things can be true. So I think when it comes to our elected officials, I think sometimes when we see them close to a good thing and doing and giving recognition to someone who deserves it, I think sometimes we give them a pass. And like we kind of like, I don't know. I know that was a real long way to saying that, but like I think I've seen it in Charleston where people kind of relent a little bit when, oh well, Mayor Tecklenburg wore a dashiki, so he can't be that bad. Or developer Riley gave black people a bunch of jobs, so he can't be that bad. Right? I think we get really relaxed, and I'm gonna stop saying we because I think it's really white people who, white liberals. There's a white liberal culture here, and if you got offended by that, you lean in. Don't run. Good morning, Quadro. Good morning, Brienne. Don't get offended. Lean in, because one thing too, after the week I've had, after what City Council did, I have zero patience for white moderate. Right. So like I said this before I went on my little hiatus, make sure white folks, y'all need to really touch base and connect with and engage with Martin Luther King's letter from a Birmingham jail, and not just the actual text. Find some thoughtful either scholarship or find some thoughtful analysis of that document and why he wrote it and the time and what purpose it serves, or, you know what I mean? Because what I also, after I exerted all of that energy while I'm traveling, right? So I'm getting out of town. I'm going through a personal transition, and you know, I'm doing all that. And then I had a lot of people really make a requirement, right? Really make a requirement or constantly lean on me to give even more. And I'm like, you do the work. So like, I just want you to know that. So like, I want y'all to understand that as well. There's a lot of feelings I got. I'm very emotional today, but I'm here and I'm here to break it down. B-Man on Twitch, you say, what? You say talking about me. You have compassion and empathy for other folks because you're an intelligent, self-reflecting. Oh, I ain't gonna read all that today. It makes me, if I could blush, I would. Oh. You don't see a lot of white folks. This is a white man talking, by the way. You don't see a lot of white folks exhibiting those qualities. You see it in your own family. And B-Man, just so y'all know, B-Man had, you know, and I'm not going to betray any confidence, B-Man, any confidences. But B-Man, like so many other white people who might consume any of my content, comes from I'll say conservative family. And so many white folks are on their way, and they're on this journey, a journey that doesn't end, by the way. There's no finish line, right? And so I'm happy to be a part of that. I hope I'm just a smaller part of the journey. I hope that you go on and encounter more experiences and more people and voices that add to your learning, because Lord knows I'm a work in progress. But I want to say this. So after all of that, y'all, I really need y'all to understand what like how to use me. Rita and I have a relationship. When Rita called, I know it's on some real shit. Like, she didn't text me, she called me. So I knew it was on some real shit, right? About the City Council ordinance and this crackdown on First Amendment rights, right? So when Rita calls me, I know it's real shit. Rita's also been somebody that if I call her, she gonna show up, right? And she has been doing that at the Batteries, Marion Square, Indivisible, everything. She said, can you use your platform to bring this issue to light? And I said, absolutely. She knew how important it was for me. Rita's also a voice, one of the 7 voices. Hey, Ross, one of the 7 voices you'll constantly hear weighing in at City Council meetings, right? When they're held via Zoom. And so I didn't mind leveraging my platform or extending my platform for that express purpose. But one thing I'm not a community billboard. So after I did that, I got an influx of people also sending me notices about events and action, like events and activities and other things. I'm not a bulletin board. I don't do that, right? This is the activist platform. I distill the media. I challenge white supremacy and how it's displayed in the media. I talk about the news and local civic issues. I'm not a bulletin board. Now, if it moves me to share, hey, this vaccination clinic is being led by people I fuck with, I'm gonna share that. But I'm not a bulletin board. And so again, just like after the 2020 uprisings, I show up in these spaces, I do a thing, and then you think that I'm part of that bullshit nonprofit industrial complex. I'm not that, right? I'm quite literally not that. I'm actually the antithesis of it. So I need for white folks, if you saw me do something, you saw there was tremendous movement around my work. You know, that happens, right? Right. Sometimes when I get involved, shit gets shut down, right? I'm not being cocky. I'm just being real. But that doesn't mean that now you can shoehorn all your other issues in there. That's not how I move, especially if I don't know you like that. So chill with the, hey, this is going on in your neighborhood. Share that with the white folks in your life. Share that with your church. Share that with your colleagues. You know, do all that. Go on Instagram Live, do all that. That's one thing. Other thing too, when you see a black woman who's literally running through the airport, you hear the announcements, you see me in the hotel room. The next time you see me somewhere that's not here, not in my car. Don't ask me what's next. Don't ask me what's next. You tell me what's next. Rita called me. Rita was already doing stuff. She had stuff in motion. She was talking to who she needed to talk to. You tell me what's next. Does that make sense? What up? What up, new follower? Does that make sense? Like just like it's a lot, y'all. I'm one person. I'm cash poor. Like I'm one person, right? And so like I just wanted to say that. I wanted to get that off rip. Like white folk, there are so many businesses that jumped out in front and say, hey, Black Lives Matter. So many businesses, so many influencers who were quick to, you know, they got 30,000 new followers, right? They created whole hashtags. They rocking it on Twitter. They got a podcast with serious backing. I'm literally putting this together with my own income. And so what I'm trying to say is that if you want to know what's next, you're what's next. Don't ask me what's next. Don't ask me if I called this other organization. Did you call that other organization? What did you do? Like, it just really like, I don't know why. Maybe it's just me being me. Maybe it's the Benjamin Gadsden in me, my daddy, that's a little irritable. But like, don't ask me what's next. I just did all that shit while I'm in the airport. Touchdown, wheels open, take off, airplane mode, and then you tell me I'm trying to get the rental car from Thrifty. From a very, very sweet but talkative, you know, associate. Right? I'm trying to get the rental car. I'm trying to get this Hyundai Elantra. What's next? Cash App. Next time I'm going to say Cash App me if you want to know what's next. Next time I'm going to do that. I'm going to take your money. Next time, I don't even ask for money, but next time I'm going to just like, you know what? For $25, for $5.99 a minute, you can call this number and I can tell you what's next, step by step. All right, that's my own little soapbox. Hey AJ on Facebook. Yes, just like after 2015, all the tragedies, these folks profited off of our pain and contributed nothing to actually absolutely like no material support, right? Right? Yeah. Look at B-Man. B-Man, you about to be my manager. That's right. Sign up for my Patreon. Y'all don't even have to sign up for like $5. It's like $1 a month. If 12 people did $1 a month, like, come on, that'd be dope. All right, and links in the Instagram bio, like for real, newsletter especially. All right, so oh my gosh, I'm getting a lot of spam. All right, let me block this right here. Boom, bip. All right, let's get to it. Y'all didn't come here to look at my face. Y'all ain't come here to look at my. Let me cue it up first. All right, so let's just get Lindsey Graham out the way. Let's get Lindsey Graham out the way, because I ain't here for that. All right, here we go. Good morning, Meth. Good morning, Meth. All right, let's get Lindsey out the way. I appreciate it. Nah, you said $5 the minimum on that Patreon. Say word. This shit is a heavy lift, y'all. I ain't gonna hold you. It ain't easy to get up here like I get paid. I don't get paid tens of dollars an hour. To do this. It ain't always easy. Let me see if I can get I'm gonna look at my downloads, my recent downloads. Now let me go to quick access and all right, here we go. Let me see. Vaccinated. Here we go. Let's see if this pops up. We'll see what screen it pops up on. Then we're gonna look at the headlines. Just two front pages. What's good? Hold up. Good morning. Hey, Justin. Appreciate it. And for those who've been rocking with me, the expectation not that y'all double down. I know who y'all are. The ones that really, really been holding me down, man. Without y'all, them days would be them hard days would be even harder. All right, so this is from today's Post and Courier. Vaccinated U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham hit by, I guess they cut it off because it's the coronavirus, but this is the Newsbank version, the PDF version of the article that's in the Post and Courier. So I guess they had their Washington. Oh, well, whatever. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham has tested positive for COVID-19 even after getting vaccinated months ago, experiencing flu-like symptoms over the weekend. Pardon me. I was just informed by the House physician that I've tested positive for COVID-19 even after being vaccinated. He said in the media statement on August 2nd, that was yesterday. I started having flu-like symptoms Saturday night. Went to a doctor this morning, Monday. Graham, Republican from South Carolina, added, I feel like I have a sinus infection at the present time. I have mild symptoms. I will be quarantining for 10 days. Now, there's a little bit of like kiki about, he got this from being on Manchin's boat. I don't know how much of that is true, but I guess Manchin had a boat party. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if that was true. Hold on, I'm just pulling up other PDFs. We're gonna get to this Clyburn story too. Clyburn, trying to get out in front of it. It's so funny what like all these prominent corporate Dems are doing with the moratorium. They're trying to still like Cori Bush out there really trying to like indicting systems and indicting her colleagues. And then you got Clyburn and Lindsey Graham out there trying to, I guess, I don't know, capitalize off that shit. So this is the Sunday paper, y'all. We're going to get to Clyburn in a second. This is the Sunday paper. This is I love how ferocious Raven, I like how Raven handles her. Raven Saunders, y'all, a silver medalist at this year's Olympics. Hello, in Tokyo, right? Tokyo 2020, but it's Tokyo 2021. Shout out to Raven. She wears these like ferocious masks with the likeness of like the Joker. She's oh my god, and she's commenting on it, so I'm not objectifying her, but she's slimmed down her body, and like she not even slimmed down, she sculpted it. She didn't slim it down, she sculpted her body. Like she just is an amazingly fierce athlete, and I just felt like they could have like chose a better picture. I know they just I just think that they could have chose a better picture, maybe of her like in motion or like something like screaming. She I mean, look at her Instagram, she's got plenty of there. But this is Sunday's paper. Of course, the Delta variant is real. Sunday front and center. I'm surprised the Post and Courier. Well, I'm not surprised. Sunday, they had this right here, over 500,000 cases in South Carolina. They talk about there's a story over here that I did not read. I'm not going to comment on this. This is jail issues played a role in the Sutherland death. I'm gonna read that because if I see another scapegoat. And there's some shifting. Scarlett is doing a lot of shifting on this. Now she's going to come out and try to assume a reformist position. And usually people buy it. For some reason, people buy it when she does that mess. I wanted to pull up one more headline. Let's see if I can find it. Download. Let's see. This is today's paper. Here we go. So this is today's paper here. Front page, storms, flooding risk. Y'all know it's going to be really, really rainy today. And then this is why I wanted to bring up today's paper. I wanted to talk about, hey, Taisha, good morning. Good morning. I'm glad you're in agreement with AJ over there. All right, so yeah, Clyburn says this, Clyburn : extend halt evictions. Clyburn is annoyed that South Carolina has used little of the federal aid available. You annoyed now? Now we've mentioned this on this platform many times. And shout out to my girl Julie out up in Richland County. Julie tweeted this weekend, and I shared the tweet. Julie mentioned how less than 10% of that aid. For months I've been talking about, hey, there's $4 million available to South Carolina residents. I myself even applied because I'm in transition. I myself even applied for the funds, but you got to be completely destitute to even be eligible. And the link that's being shared widely isn't for Charleston County residents. So you have to go through Charleston. You have to go to the Charleston County government page, click on that, and it's extraordinarily cumbersome. So this is me, someone who has luxury of time, whatever. I've got whatever resources at my disposal to navigate the process. I don't have children that contend with my time. I don't have a partner. I don't have, distractions is what I'm trying to say, or something that will command my attention. And it was a very, very arduous process. And then when I get to the part, and it says, well, you can't have any income. And I'm like, damn, no income? And then they stipulate what kind, like no income. And then they give you a worksheet like, yeah, say right here that you have no income, and then go get it notarized. So you got to get that notarized. And I just thought that was like really, really, really cumbersome, like needlessly cumbersome. And if anyone out there who was watching me had experience trying to fill out that paperwork or trying to fill out that stuff, let me know. Let me know if you and there's also childcare credits available through DHEC. I'm trying, but it's hard to do it. I want to resist the urge to compare other places that I've lived, like Philly metro area, like the New York metro area, right? I was a resident of both New Jersey and Pennsylvania prior to becoming a resident of South Carolina. I'm trying to resist the urge to compare, but I just spent time in both of those states. And when I tell you the local television, local radio, I listen to a lot of terrestrial radio intentionally. I watch a lot of local news early in the morning. And when I tell you the initiatives to get people access to the funds and to the vaccination, New York City, de Blasio ain't my favorite, but guess what? Paying people $100 to come get their first shot, right? Creating incentives, New Jersey, extending the moratorium, like they have it like an indefinite date. It just says until the crisis is over, literally on one website that I looked at, right? Just seeing what other states do now. Of course, those are blue states. I get it. But my point is, I can see the possibilities and take the partisanship out of it. The public service initiative, the public information campaign to get people connected to resources, to either vaccination resources, testing resources, eviction assistance, all of that is so robust in these other areas. So regardless if it's a DRR, why can't you just connect people to these resources, right? I don't understand that. And so again, I know the states are very different from South Carolina, right? No income, but thank you, Justin. No income, but you got to go find a notary, right? Exactly, right? Yeah. So Jennifer Wicker on Facebook, you asked, so can you have income, but they want everyone back, right? But they want everyone back to work, right? And then I think you can have an income, but then you got to prove that your income, if you have an income, you got to prove that it was impacted by COVID. Like, whose income hasn't essentially been impacted by COVID in some way, shape, or form, or whose job hasn't changed either structurally, or like maybe you had to buy a bunch of tech equipment and that changed. Maybe you're using more internet at home and you had to pay for more internet speed. Maybe you had to buy, like, everyone's income has been impacted by either directly or indirectly by COVID-19. Everyone's. And like, so Jennifer, to your point, it's like, yeah, like they want you to rush back to work, but then have no income. And I'm like, can't somebody just what if you were laid off for 6 months, you just got a new job, but you still playing catch up? Why can't you just be eligible to get the assistance? And why couldn't it be like pots? Like, okay, you get a little bit of assistance. You get you get a medium size, you get a big size. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm in between jobs. Can I get nope? I'm like, oh wow, okay. All because I get a couple coins from Patreon. Cool, right? Taisha, you says bet those funds will magically disappear though. And Taisha, to your point, look what's happening with the infrastructure legislation, right? So all that unused money, either money that McMaster turned down or all that unused stimulus package money is going into the infrastructure bill, which there are good things about the infrastructure bill, but like, why couldn't that money go directly into the households, right? Why couldn't it go to people who need eviction assistance? Shit, why couldn't it go into the PR campaign to connect people to those resources? Right? Yeah, those funds will magically disappear, and they'll be reappropriated and used for other issues and other causes, and people who need it the most won't benefit from it. For sure. Yup. Conservative fingerprints all over it. So I say all that to say, hey, your outrage and your frustration, dude, you're the most powerful. You number 3. You number 3 in Washington, bruh. You frustrated. Did you get on the mic and tell Nancy to get her butt back there? Like, did you get on the mic and tell everybody to come back? All right. So let me read it. Let me read it more carefully before I pop off completely, and then I'm gonna go hop to video. He held a press conference yesterday, a virtual one. So he had, like, I saw Meg Kennard from the Associated Press. Y'all know that's my favorite, right? I blew this up extra big. Jesus. All right, hold up. I gotta, Mika OG Meek gotta be able to read it. All right, here we go. All right, South Carolina U.S. Rep. Jim Clyburn called on President Joe Biden to extend the federal moratorium on evictions until October, citing concerns about growing Delta variant and COVID-19 virus. Now, while this is why his reaction is of particular interest to me, of course, is because this is South Carolina. We talk about local news, right? But more so than that, why it's so important to me is because y'all know that North Charleston is the eviction capital of the country. I said what I said. North Charleston is the eviction capital of the country. So not to have any of our Congress people speak to that would be really, really a bad look. So I am happy that he's speaking to this, because there is a specific angle through which he could enter this conversation, right? And I'm gonna look at the comments in a second, but to me, I'm like, I need to see Cori Bush type action, right? Okay. So it says, but the Democratic congressman also expressed annoyance that South Carolina has not done more to move the federal financial assistance into the hands of renters who are behind in their bills. So this is very important too. So this is also an opportunity for the savvy politicians among us, like a Mia McLeod, and Mia's been on it on Twitter at the very least. Mia McLeod, I'm sure Joey got in there somewhere too. And so this is a time for you to hey, McMaster, what's good? Why haven't you gotten this money to the people, right? Let me just toggle out. Let me toggle out of that and go to the video. Let's see. Oh, we're going to get to city council. We're going to get there, right? We're going to get to city council, and we're going to get more. We're going to talk more about the Olympics at probably toward the end, right? And we're going to get there. Oh, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. Here we go. So this is just now. Y'all know how Channel 2 likes to put content on YouTube without much context. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I'll give you
calling on the Biden administration to extend
the
CDC eviction.
All right, so it's titled right here. Y'all see it. Whip Clyburn discusses federal moratorium on evictions. You also see up top WCIV. You see news outlets and individual members of the press corps up top. So you got Meg Kennard right here. If you can see my mouse moving, Meg Kennard here. You got Mario Parker. I think of Bloomberg. Don't know Russ Bradley like that. I don't know if that is Russ in the picture. You know how sometimes the Zoom title might be a shared account. And you got Joseph. Is it Bustos or Bustos? Bustos of the state newspaper. I want to make sure I said his name right. All right, so Joseph Bustos of the state newspaper. So you've got the AP, Meg Kennard with the Associated Press, Bloomberg, and the state newspaper, of course, WCIV, and I'm sure many others that are not featured. He has, I don't know why they have that view up, but they have that view up. All right, so let's just listen to a little bit of this.
Moratorium into October. Studies show that evictions increase the spread of the coronavirus
What up, Chris Tittle?
infections and deaths. With the increase in cases caused by the Delta variant, the CDC should extend the eviction moratorium to protect.
Okay, that's where he's getting a little cute. I hope my stream is okay, guys. This is getting a little cute. So you saw Nancy Pelosi and others now try to pass the buck, create another scapegoat in the CDC. No, y'all should have convened and y'all should have extended the moratorium. Like the CDC, come on, y'all. Come on. Y'all don't do like, and like, it's so funny. I'm sitting in the living room with my friends in Philly over the weekend. And it was like, they don't do nothing. These are not like people who are like as passionate about news coverage as I am. They're like, they don't do anything. They just go on vacation. And it is not like, that's not really a stretch. They don't do nearly enough, right? And they act as if they don't have power. It's like they keep acting like they're being held back. Like when they blame the parliamentarian for not passing the $15 an hour minimum wage increase. Pardon me, sneeze. Right? They blame the parliamentarian or some old like archaic function of government when where there were options and stuff around it. And the same thing with voting rights, right? Like what to me should be a top issue. The same thing with student debt cancellation, right? A lot of things that Joe Biden campaigned on, he's reneging on, right? And so it's really interesting how they have really perfected the pass the buck and how a lot of people don't challenge him. And I don't know if a guy didn't watch this whole thing. I don't know if like Meg got a chance to hop in there, Mario got a chance to hop in there and challenge some of the things that were being said. I'm assuming that they were, because why would they have them up there? And I did see that, that they all published a piece following this gaggle individually. But passing the buck to the CDC.
Public health. Congress has appropriated over $46 billion in rental assistance funds to keep people in their homes. But many state and local governments say they need more time to disperse those funds to landlords and renters. By June 30th, only $3 billion of the $46 billion had been dispersed.
That's bananas.
But extending the moratorium is not all that is needed.
Okay.
Some states.
So I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. Let me see. Okay, yeah. So here's some questions.
Unmute and ask your question.
Hi, Congressman. Thank you for doing this. Hello. I wanted to ask you this whole falderall over what to do with the eviction moratorium has caused kind of I don't want to say last minute because it's been known that this was going to be happening, but somewhat of a late breaking complication between congressional Democrats and the Biden administration. What do you see as the next step for you, the Black Caucus, Speaker Pelosi, all of the congressional Democrats who are calling on the administration for this extension, if it doesn't come? Do you think that's going to create further complications for other pieces of agenda items that you all may be working on? And what do you do with this evictions issue if that extension doesn't happen?
Well, there are two things here. We keep talking about the extension. And what I've been trying to say is that I don't think that's the real problem.
So he's trying to he's saying, hey, just get people the money. The money is right there, which is like a small point, but not really, because you do need those protections, right? You do need those protections in place, those federal mandated protections in place to help protect renters, right? So just saying that, just connecting people with that money, knowing that the infrastructure is frayed, knowing that the pipeline is not working as well as it should and could, knowing that it's July, right? And this money was made available, I believe, in the spring. in the spring, if not sooner, right? And knowing that the people haven't even gotten this money, there is no PR campaign, there is no public service campaign. I turn on the news, I don't see any, hey, rental insurance, rental assistance needed, call this number, hit this link. You're not seeing that, right? So knowing that people are having trouble getting access to the money, you can't just rely upon that one thing. So you can't just, you can cuss McMaster out all you want, but the Dems are in power, y'all. The Dems have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Dude, you the whole whip. Don't tell me that you don't have the power. Don't tell me that you can't do more than just say, hey, we need to get the access to the money, right? So, I was trying to track Meg's question. I guess she was saying potentially, like, how would that impact other moves and whatnot? But his little jujitsu move that he just did of trying to create more excuses for the Dems who are in power is obscene. It's obscene, and this is why we have to, I hear you, Clyburn, but you could do something. Stop passing the buck. So he's already said the CDC needs to do more, and he's already said local governments need to do more. Like even Biden, like I told you, I was in the New York metro area this weekend. So I consume a lot of New York area local news. And so we saw de Blasio say, hey, you get $100 for your first shot, your first vaccine shot, right? You got to come to all the New York, like the New York government sanctioned, places to go get it, yada, 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 right? And then you saw Biden give de Blasio public recognition on Friday, I believe, right? Was it Friday or Thursday? Gave him like, hey, look what New York is doing. You guys can do it too. Yeah. You the actual president though. You the actual president though. And this whole my hands are tied stuff is getting very, very tired. And I think a lot of people see the recognition. It would be great if he recognized de Blasio and complimented what de Blasio was doing with actual legislation or actual mandates that will reinforce what de Blasio is doing. Does that make sense? Right? It's crazy. It's crazy. I see you be man about Cori Bush. I see your comment. So AJ on Facebook earlier, you said, so conservatives will continue to watch this process not reach the people that it needs to reach, right? Right? So conservatives will continue to do that, right? It will not need to reach, then turn around and use it as campaign ammunition. And that's the classic go-to move in South Carolina. And the Democrats will just drop it, right? And so, Chris Tittle, what you say? Chris Tittle over here on Twitch, you saying money that the real estate lobby. Exactly. You always got to follow the money, y'all. So you always got to follow the money, and you got to follow, the interest. They're moving the way their donor base is telling them to move. They haven't canceled your student loan debt. They haven't even canceled that little bit of 10K or 10 or 50K or whatever the number is. They haven't canceled that because that industry is on their neck, right? So couldn't agree more. So that was interesting. I'm trying to see if another reporter asked another question. Let me see if I see. So she had a follow up. All right, let's see. Anybody else? Oh, wow. Is nobody asking questions? Okay. Here's Bloomberg.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, up next we have Mario Parker. You may unmute and ask your question.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Congressman, for holding this call. As Meg mentioned, you got some progressives on the Hill protesting.
Cori
now.
Bush.
Just saw them moments ago. They're saying that this could be characterized as the Biden administration needing to do more for Black voters, an extension of what we've seen with voting rights, and also.
That's right. Don't put up no black square. Don't show up at no art exhibition with no with no African dashiki. Don't squeeze out a tear as Calhoun's coming down. Publicly affirm your love for Black lives through policy. Stop acting like your hands are tied. Your hands are not tied.
George Floyd Act. I mean, what message?
Oh yeah, I was talking about Tecklenburg. Yes.
Does this send to Black voters that this whole situation is occurring?
Well, I agree that we can do more. That's what I just said in the top of my statement. I'm calling on the Biden administration to do more.
And
I also know what the Supreme Court has said. But my position is simply this. Take the administrative action that needs to be taken. And I would much rather the next 4 or 5 years be spent with them stopping the Biden administration than for us to spend the next 4 or 5 years trying to, litigate to get it done.
I don't know what you're talking about. All right. So again, I really wish sometimes I wish these press gaggles were in person, because I feel like it's harder to kind of skirt things when the press is right in your face and they can kind of jump back in. And when a Zoom, you're kind of impeded by these virtual walls, so you can't really jump in. You see how Meg got in there with like three follow-up questions. So that's that. But it's on YouTube. Check it out. Let me go back to the let me go back to the PDF article. Okay. All right, cooperate, please. It just goes from 0 to 60. I'm trying to get it a little bit bigger. Okay. Might work, might not. Nope. All right, so again, we read this. Few South Carolinians have taken advantage of. I don't like that. Few South Carolinians have taken advantage of the rental assistance programs being offered at the federal level. And Clyburn said almost none of the $500 million in assistance has been allocated for the state. Let me read it again. Few South Carolinians have taken advantage of the rental assistance programs being offered at the federal level. And Clyburn said almost none of the $500 million in assistance have been allocated for the state. That's crazy. Okay, and so again, I'm in transition, so I went to the Charleston County website. Maybe I need to go to the federal website again. The information is really hard to find. It's not as accessible as it could be. Let me not say it's hard to find. I'm gonna do my due diligence first, but that's interesting. AJ on Facebook earlier said the CDC, in regards to Clyburn saying the CDC needs to do more. The CDC is not a social services agency. What agencies are responsible for dissemination of this money? And that was a question mark. That's a good question, right? Right? Tecklenburg Tears. Oh my God. I got all these. I need to just start making up some merch so I can really fund this thing. Because Tecklenburg Tears with a strike through it is like a great hoodie to wear. No Tecklenburg Tears. Right? Just in time for fall. I know it's hurricane season still, but we need to start having the fall collection come out at the assembly line. And Jared, if you're listening, we need to do a whole fall collection for Mic'd Up with Mika Gadsden in the morning. All right. I can hear Jared now like, dude, I've been asking you to give me work. All right. Yeah. All right. So that's that. Clyburn kind of stalling, passing the buck to the CDC a little bit. Not surprising, right? Unsurprising for sure. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and reduce that. And I think there was an article. Hold up. No. I didn't pull it up. Let's go back to video and let's get into it. Let's get into what took place last week. We're just going to hop into the coverage from last week. Now, I didn't cover the coverage because I wasn't in a place where I could do the whole Twitch thing. For those who don't know, I use my PC and I use a second monitor. So even if I could go live from my desktop, I need a second monitor. And let me tell you, I was in that hotel room with that HDMI cable trying to make it work. It just wasn't happening. I was trying. And I'm a really good rigger. Of like all that. I remember I was in the Dominican Republic just like rigging that TV up to watch Netflix. It was really good. Anyway, so all right, let's watch some coverage from last week and then we're going to catch up to City Council.
The ordinance includes changing to the
Let me rewind it. Shout out Carolyn Murray.
New this afternoon, City of Charleston just voted to change the laws pertaining to protest and demonstrations.
Whoa.
The ordinance includes changing to the permitting process, penalties, and open carry rules during demonstrations. News 2 Sophia Desasor listened in on today's meeting. And Sophia, there are people on both sides of this issue. Tell us more about what those decisions were this afternoon after today's council meeting.
Justin,
that's right, Carolyn. City Council just passed those changes. Those in favor say the updated ordinance would provide clearer guidelines for demonstrations. They say that
clearer guidelines.
Clarity
Ooh.
ensures they are appropriately allowing people to exercise their First Amendment rights. But opponents say the ordinance is intended to limit people's rights. Earlier today, local activists encouraged.
I ain't never seen no cop exert that much energy with the literal militias out there. I've never seen that. I've never seen that. After a dude says, a race war is coming, just you wait, right in front of a cop. I ain't never seen a cop say, whoa, 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 race war, what? I ain't never seen no cop have that type of agility. You saw that? Let me wind that. I ain't never seen no cop have that kind of agility, demonstrate that type of athleticism.
Rights, but opponents say,
and shout out to Stephen Ballard, and because you said it in a public comment, this was an overreaction. Look at this cop. Look at him. I'm stuttering. I'm stuck. I done malfunction. Look at him lunging. For what? They got wagons. Like, for what?
the ordinance is intended to limit people's rights. Earlier today, local activists encouraged people to contact their city council leaders and express their opposition.
I heard the most from citizens who thought that we were making these laws less constitutional as opposed to more, which I do agree that they're more clear, that they're more.
Yo, there was a moment, y'all, when I got off the plane, I was able to get like the last 15 minutes. And there was a moment where I thought, oh yeah, shit worked. The pressure worked. The pressure we applied worked. You know, Carol Jackson was saying the right thing and da-da-da-da. Like, I was like, it will work until Chief Chick-fil-A Reynolds got on that motherfucking mic. And Ross.
More specific and making sure that we are practicing the protection of First Amendment rights.
And the city's legal team says this will provide a clear path for those wanting to demonstrate, along with more resources so that people understand the laws in place. Reporting live in studio, Sophia Desasor, Count on 2.
That was a really interesting, maybe this is when it just happened, because that ain't even what happened. like that ain't even. So let's get good to it, right? I'm not even going to rely on, shout out to Steve Garrison. I think his coverage is pretty solid. I think his coverage was pretty solid. From what I remember, the article that I pulled up, I feel like his coverage was pretty solid. So let's go to it. 39 minutes. Yeah, it was under 40 minutes. Well, let's go to the cop first. Let's go to the cops first. Let's go to their propaganda machine. You know how they put out great content. Got Wendy Shriver and her pizza tracker, her Domino's pizza tracker. You got, hey, yeah, we're going to release dash cam and body cam footage, but we're going to narrate it, redact it, edit it, crop it. We're going to do all those things. And then also, we're not going to show you the body cam. We're not going to show you the body cam footage from the cop that actually shot Jason Cooper. We're just going to show you everybody else, the responding officers who got there later. We're just going to show you that. So this is City of Charleston, Charleston Police Department. This is their statement on the new First Amendment. The audacity of the cops even having the audacity of law enforcement having this much authority in this discussion around First Amendment ordinances and any type of amendments to any existing ordinances. This is so over the top wrong. Trying to get it to play.
Operations Division. One of my duties is to oversee the coordination and approval of permits for demonstrations.
YouTube is not.
Since July 10th,
let's get his name. Here we go.
Hello, I'm Captain Jason Bruder with CPD Special Operations Division. One of my duties is to
it's scheduled for a third read, but it's about to happen. It's scheduled for a third read. You're right. Let me not mix up. It's scheduled for a third read, but they've made these compelling arguments, right, to tip off to show me that they're going to vote for it. right? And then the fact that they did this, I need more clarity on the actual position of it, because they rushed to do it on the 29th, right? Right. So if someone can help me with the timeline breakdown as to why was the urgency applied, right? And if someone can help me with that, I'd really like it. But I'm with you. Scheduled for a third read, but why did they rush? I know the whole thing about the gun laws and whatnot, right? But can someone break that down, right?
Oversee the coordination and approval of permits for demonstrations. Since July 10th, 2020, CPD has processed nearly 150 parade permits for First Amendment activities.
So I want to time out right there. I've never organized rallies outside of South Carolina. I've not, outside of my own campus. That don't count. In Jersey City, that don't count. I've never been the one charged with like filing for permits and whatnot. For those who just, my viewers, hey Jessica, good morning. For viewers, can y'all tell me in other cities, do cops approving the permit process? Because when I went and did the Women's March back in 2018, right? My application came from the city, came from Parks and Rec, came from Stella Fruit, right? I had to go down there and genuflect before Stella Fruit, kiss the ring, all this song and dance stuff, right? To make Stella Fruit feel important, right? And get admonished. Every time I would hand in a version of the application, I'd get some sort of reprimand about what wasn't right, as if I did this 100 times before, right? So I'd go and have to genuflect before Stella Fruit, jump through hoops, do a sobriety test, all this. I'm joking, but you get what I'm saying. In any other cities, do cops process permits, or is it a city? I know the cops are essentially a part of a city government, right? But don't the Parks and Rec or some sort of other arm of government, aren't they the ones typically charged with this responsibility? Am I off with that? Bend the knee. Schedule your proper protesting time, right? Jessica on Twitch, you're saying this. Let's put everyone's guns in a locker and have them check them out, right? And fill out a proper form while they're neutering the amendments. Exactly. Somebody please help me out with that whole, hey Juanita, good morning. Somebody help me out with that. Let me, AJ, what you saying? AJ, you saying this is exactly what the First Amendment speaks against. Police departments are an apparatus of the government. So, so they are, by their own actions, they are stifling true freedom of speech. Absolutely. Absolutely. But somebody, I'm gonna pray a little bit more and y'all break it down as to the cops' role in issuing permits and whatnot.
Which allowed CPD to provide a safe, lawful, and peaceful event for the organizers. Through working with these organizers, we learned
why didn't he move the webcam to be in line with his sight of vision as he's reading from one monitor?
Ordinances that guide these various processes were confusing and needed clarification in order to provide a clear and consistent process for all demonstrations. At today's City Council meeting, Charleston City Council approved amendments to the Special Events Committee and Parks and Recreation ordinances. They also approved a new ordinance for First Amendment demonstrations. All of these changes went into effect on July 29th, 2021.
Okay.
The most significant change.
So all those changes, okay. All those changes went into effect on the 29th. Oh, shit. Oh. Here we go.
For the Special Event Committee amendment is to clarify that all parades require a special event permit. The coordination required for closing down roads needs the citywide level of participation that is facilitated through the Special Events Committee, which has members from the departments throughout the city, including fire, traffic and transportation, neighborhood and business services, cultural affairs, tourism, and police. The Parks and Recreation amendments mostly clarified and updated park rules and regulations. The new First Amendment.
Okay, it's dry as cornflakes with no milk. All right, so that being said, I went and I pulled up receipts from my involvement. I'm actually going to close out this window because my computer is like a humming. And I'm going to close out this. All right. And so what I did was I went into my Google folder, and I went into my Google folder. I went into my hard drive to pull up as much documentation as I could find from when I organized the Women's March. For those who didn't know, the Women's March we had about 4,000 people at Brittle Bank, and the cops put me through it. Shout out to Courtney, my predecessor, who was the head of Women's March, and she had moved on. Her husband got a job. She had switched coasts. And Courtney told me, she walked me through. She said, look, you're going to get this, cop's going to call you. This going to happen. Stellar Fruit going to be an impediment. She pretty much told me, she said, but they'll go along with it long as you just, somebody said bend the knee. Long as you essentially bend the knee, they'll eventually approve it, especially given how many people because they were surveilling they would surveil our Facebook. So I made it a Facebook event. And so as interest grew, the police started to surveil it more and more. And then they started to call me directly, message me to call directly. When I would go to Parks and Rec to get the initial applications and all that, Stellar Fruit told me I need to talk to so and so and blah 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 blah, right? So I went in my Google files, and I found this, because this is where I got, let me pull up the emails. So this is where I kind of got like, well, what's really going on, right? Like, is this, at the moment, I remember saying this feels a little like, I don't know, it feels janky. And if there's any of my followers who have any time, can you find for me, not right now, but can you find for me where the Charleston Police Department policy on hiring police to work an event? Because it felt really fishy. So basically this person right here, officer, it was Sergeant Chip Searson at the time. I don't know if he's still there or not. Captain Chip Searson, right? He was the one calling me. It was just crazy how people kept saying like, yo, Chip Searson tried to call you. You ain't picking up the phone. Like, I ain't never gave him my number, but I think Stellar Fruit and them gave him my number. And so I'm like, all right, cool. Get the call. And he's like scaring me. Like, he's like, yo, you don't have this, you don't have that. And you need this. This needs to be safe. And so you need to get security. It says, you need to get security. All right. So this is what I found was for if someone can research this for me. So according to Chip Searson, I'm gonna blow it up at the time, and let me know if this, maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree. Attaches security invoice for Saturday. Please contact me when the checks are available. I hope all is as well as planned, right? And so when I pull up so this is what he sent me. It's still a Google file, right? It says, I didn't alter this. I didn't change it. This has been the same. As you can see, last edit was January 23rd, 2018. So that was after the actual rally, right? I'm going to blow it up a little bit. And I'm bringing this up for a reason, because I think, so January 23rd, my name is on the invoice, Women's March, Carolina, which is not even real. It says Peninsula Patrol Commander. CPD security invoice. And this is where I want to question. The following Charleston Police Department personnel provided security and traffic control. Now, mind you, I had traffic captains. I had people who didn't even go into the rally, who were patrolling both the parking lot and helping people cross the street from the gravel parking lot, going back over to Brittle Bank, right? So I had a whole safety team in place. I had an accessibility team, everything. But they told me, no, you got to hire 6 cops. They said I had to hire 6 cops, right? He said I couldn't get permitted if I didn't hire these 6 cops. All right, so on Saturday the 20th is when, whatever, and they work from 11 to 5, right? That's how long they were there. It says per department policy, each officer must be issued checks. So I had to cut checks, my fiscal sponsor had to cut checks for each officer. Hello. Could somebody help me out with this? Is this typical? Was this typical? Is this typical that you pay cops individually with checks? And checks not being made out to the police department, checks not being made out to a government or a government agency. Is this typical? Can somebody find out, is this policy still on the books with Charleston PD? Because at the time it felt like a shakedown. but I had to cut checks. Shout out Sarah Stevenson. Sarah had to cut checks, my fiscal sponsor, for each cop. And then I remember I got the checks from Sarah, and then I got them and put them in an envelope. And I walked it down to the police department and left it at that desk with his name on it. And then I called him, or I emailed him, I think, and told him that. They told him how it, AJ, you said that's normally how it works when you're using officers to provide security. But AJ, to your point, I had a whole safety team, right? So why would what is it, LK Hancock's? That's my point right there. Why are they why are they off duty? Right? If they're part of the government and the city is saying, Parks and Rec is saying you gotta have police presence, why do I have to pay for police that would be there? So like when there's gay pride, you mean to tell me those gay pride parades are paying, I mean, maybe they are paying cops who are off duty to be at the gay, or is the city government creating, like, is there like a Saturday patrol, event patrol, which is what you would think? And why wouldn't they be getting paid through the city? Why wouldn't, once you submit the application to Parks and Rec, why doesn't the city then take whatever fees and dues or whatever they collect and then pay the cops? Why am I paying the cops individual checks? You hear what I'm saying? Right? And I don't even think that number right there, the 843 number, I don't even think that's like a government number. I don't know. This sounds funny. Anybody saying, oh, I know I got a little delay. So I just want to know, because that's what I had to do. And paying them in cash, essentially, checks, to me felt a little funny, right? And then, like, is this rate of pay, is this stipulated anywhere? Like, I don't know. Let me look at my, and this all deals with what we're about to talk about. So don't, like, Winky, what the hell are you talking about? Why aren't you talking about Ross? Why aren't you? My whole point is, like, they make it hard for you to even exercise your First Amendment. They make it hard for you to even, ain't nothing on here private. I know y'all be like, Mika, your number, that's my old number. Sorry, whoever got that number. Wait, hold up. Maybe it is personal. All right. All right. So, but all this right here, like, so this is the application I had to fill out, right? What is it about? What is it doing? Parade, procession, festival. You had to get insurance. I had to get a lot of insurance too, right? But why do I have to pay the police separately? Why isn't the city paying the police? Why do I have to cut checks for each cop individually? Nobody's saying nothing. Okay, Juanita, you said it depends. It's done both ways depending on the department. That just sound wrong. I just sound wrong. I don't know. All right, so that's how it's done. Jessica, you said it is a paid detail. It is private employment of public police security purpose. I'm not saying it's right, but it's standard practice. Okay. But they dictated who I had to have there. Let me tell you, them cops had a really easy Saturday is my point. I don't know. I see what you're saying, Jessica. It just sounds weird. To cut checks to each individual and not the city? You think it's wild to think that they expect people protesting police brutality should apply for a permit and pay cops to protest, all that stuff, right? So anyway, okay, let's go back. Let me open YouTube. Y'all say it's cool, then it's cool. Let me stop. That's not, I ain't pouting. I'm just saying, like, it's still weird to me. It's still mad unjust. All right. So here we go. Let's let it rock. Oh, actually,
Mr. Mayor, we are on YouTube.
Okay.
Mayor, I think you're on mute.
Thank you kindly. I'd like to call this special meeting of City Council to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Del Chapo.
Here.
Councilmember Shealy.
I see you, AJ.
Councilmember Saxon.
I'm here. Sorry.
Here.
Councilmember Mitchell,
All right, I want to kind of get through a little bit. They did the Pledge of Allegiance and shit. I know they like the I
months to put these together and put them in front of.
Let me get back.
Thank you kindly. So first we have a committee report, our Committee on Ways and Means, Councilmember Gregory.
I move for
Further comments or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next up, we have 4 bills.
Move for approval. Second.
We got a motion to approve and second. All
Apologize for the interruption, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm
Rita got in there.
Steve Romelin and
so real quick, I published the Zoom information because it was on the publicly posted agenda. So I thought the Zoom information was for the public. It's on an agenda that's published on the website for the city. And so I told people to call in. So I think that was Rita for sure. And I guess Rita was one of the people that called in there. Yeah. And I see you, Justin, and I see you, Hancock. I see you with that. AJ, I see you as well. About the Riot Squad comment on Facebook. Let's go.
Heather Malloy worked diligently on these. We presented them to you at our last meeting.
That was 9 days prior.
Reading on them. And Steve or Heather, do y'all have anything to add since our last meeting? Could I just ask for that? And thank you, Heather. I hope you're feeling better.
I am. Thank you so much, Mayor. I would just like to say the legal team worked diligently over the past several months to put these together and put them in front of you.
I don't even know why that's like necessary. Like if you feel good about your legislation, just go ahead and rock with it. Well, we don't need Heather to come out there and talk about how hard she worked on impugning the rights of protesters. I don't really need that.
We do know we had many First Amendment activities that came through our city within the last year, and we wanted to make clarifications and present a better process, improved process, I should say, for these first.
And mind you, the language they're using, process, clarity, improvements, almost as if, oh, we're not really doing anything. We're not really doing anything.
First Amendment demonstrations. Thank you
Very much. Heather did a lot of research on this.
Okay, okay, Mayor.
Any discussion? Councilmember Jackson.
It's like when Nancy Mace mentioned she's a mother.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Heather and Steve. I know how much, I mean, I don't know in terms of actual minutes and hours, but I know from speaking with Steve and some of the other officers that, you know, this
must be a Southern thing where you just, everyone who comments acknowledges how much work went into it. It must be a Southern thing. It's very annoying. I know I keep stopping it. I'm sorry, y'all. It's just annoying.
I had a lot of consultation, and you all, you know, really did an inordinate job.
The mayor himself admitted he wasn't
make
aware
these.
I didn't know Rita kept getting
to
in
the
there.
laws that are going to be clarifying to the public and the users of these First Amendment rights opportunities for all of our citizens and visitors to our city. So I'm very appreciative of that. I do think, Mayor, that we've heard from citizens who, you know, I think have demonstrated that they have a dedication to following along with especially the opportunity for First Amendment statements to be heard in public over the last few years. And I was hoping that maybe you could just give us a little rundown about some of the citizen comments that you specifically addressed face to face the other day. I know that one of the concerns was that we were publishing versions of these ordinances that didn't explain the changes that we actually made.
They didn't show the edits.
Them.
They didn't
so
show
I
the
tried
edits.
to send that out, but it was at the last minute this afternoon, because we clearly got copies of the amendments that we gave first reading approval to on the 20th. that were annotated with the typical way that ordinance amendments are done. So the original text is in not bold, correct? And if there's anything removed, it's bolded and crossed out. And then if there's anything new, it's bold text. And that's the way the documents came to us.
That was confusing.
So I think that's one thing that maybe we should clarify. We're not trying to do a bait and switch and change laws out from old to new. We're amending existing laws.
And I think what you can say it's not bait and switch, but Carol, what it definitely shows, even in that kind of long, elaborate explanation, is it shows that there's lack of transparency. And also that it's not clear how these amendments were applied. And so there's they keep saying, again, remember when the police say transparency, in the interest of transparency, we're going to issue this redacted video, this body cam footage in the interest of, they're saying words that aren't in line with what they actually did. So you keep saying that you're trying to provide clarity, but not even in the amendment process is there clarity on how these changes, how they arrived at these changes. So you already have a breakdown and potentially a breach of trust, because we're not understanding how 1 + 1 is equaling 3. And you're telling me, oh, no, we added another one. Oh, okay, now I get it. You can't do that. And they keep saying that, well, we didn't do that. If you really wanted the public to see the before and after, you would make it plain. Right? Like when Tecklenburg wanted you to give him credit for bringing down the Calhoun Monument in his second term, after he lied to us for 4 years about how he couldn't take it down, what did he do? He got the local poet laureate to perform a poem, and other poets to come and perform a poem and make a ceremony from coming down. You might say, Mika, what the hell are you talking about? My point is, when the city wants you to know what they're doing, they will make a spectacle of it. They will have a press event. They will publish it everywhere. They won't hide it in some janky site that look like it ain't been updated since 1999, right? They're not going to hide it in all these PDF links and whatnot on this archaic ass website that's hard to navigate. They're going to tell you explicitly what they did. When he decided, after delaying and lying to us about the statue while he was in office, right? After all that lying and oh, I don't know, and oh, well, city doesn't own Gadsden Creek. Yes, you do. You own most of it. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And your predecessor started a nonprofit to develop it. So like when they keep saying, well, the city don't have nothing to do with that, you got to push back on that. They are willfully and quite explicitly trying to hide the details on how the sausage was made.
The new one was to make a definition of
I'm gonna fast forward a little bit, because I honestly,
rights and opportunities.
So I know by fast forwarding it, I'm gonna miss some comments, but the two comments, there are 3 comments that I want to hear. I want to hear from the mayor, I want to hear from Chick-fil-A Chief Reynolds, and I want to hear from lame ass Ross again. Okay, so those are the 3 comments I want to try to get to on this. And I understand Waring also expressed some reticence about approving this. We know that Jason Saccharin voted no, and the only council member to vote no during this session, the only one to stand up. Harry Griffin said some words, whatever. You would think that he would try to rally his gun nut base. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. You would think he would try to rally his gun nut base to talk about how this also impacts the Second Amendment and how the police use a legally armed protester, use that detail to create this propaganda to strengthen, the need for this so-called need for this type of amendment, right? You would think, but some of our council people aren't that savvy. You know that. I ain't say they weren't smart, but they're definitely not that savvy. Some of them is some real mellow gangsters. Let's see because I want to hear the mayor talk about talk negatively about protesters.
Ordinance, and it makes those,
let me see,
rights of our citizens to express themselves might have been formed 20.
Hold on, it's hard to kind of see. Okay.
The protection of First Amendment rights.
Well, thank you. This has been a journey of improving, in my view, and clarifying a number of ordinances that the city had. And yes, renaming things.
Mike Seekins is
that
never paying
were
attention.
more appropriate.
Mike Seekins is never paying attention.
We had an ordinance called parade permits that were issued through our police department that, you know, for the most part, weren't anything about having parades. I mean, when we have our Martin Luther King parade and our Emancipation Day parade and our St. Patrick's Day parade.
Try to bring up the black
none
shit.
Of
Y'all
them
saw that?
Needed to get a parade permit.
To bring up the
they
black
needed
shit.
a special events permit. So some of it was just going back over ordinances that might have been formed 20 and 30 years and naming them appropriately. And so recognizing importantly, so it may have content from the former parade permit, but recognizing formally the rights of our citizens to express themselves. And that's why we named this new ordinance the First Amendment Demonstration Ordinance. And it makes application and ordinance to control that. And then there were a couple of things that were, reach over everything, and that is addressing the new open carry gun
There you go.
state legislation. So, and Heather spent a heck of a lot of time more on this in the weeds than I did.
Okay.
Well,
Mayor, can I make one suggestion? I think one of the other questions was about, we removed a reference to flags as weapons, which that's just in a different place.
So that got moved to the weapons ordinance, and it applies lawful order of law enforcement. And I'm going to ask Steve or Heather again to comment on that.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. So the legal team in developing these new ordinances or amendments to ordinances really went back to the drawing board and looked at our basic constitutional.
Okay. I'm going to fast forward. Let me see, Shahid. Let me see.
There's certain rules and laws have been passed about that, and court decisions have been issued concerning the size of those assembling. But what is important to make a distinction upon is assembling and then marching or parading. And as Heather has pointed out, with that, we have the ability to manage the controls of the wheres and whens and hows of those taking place. So the spontaneous or the size of the crowd to assemble does not necessarily give the right to march.
Wow.
Because the police have and the citizens have a responsibility making sure of public safety, not just for those who wish to march or parade, but also to other citizens who are not participating in that march and parade. So these are very
to take it back to the BLM led protests, Marcus and those observed the traffic laws. No one jaywalked or anything like that. They were in Marion Square, then they marched across the street, and y'all know that you can't go nowhere near those stores. Like they will attack you, right? And that's essentially how they were met with that aggression when they said Marcus's horn was damaged, and you saw three arrests. They say that they spat on cops again. I'm gonna talk to some of the people who were directly involved to get more details. But like that whole marching thing. So the police used their own, I guess, judgment of marching. So crossing the street when the light is green, when you have the right of way, that was already like, so to me, there's a lot of gray area here. And I know Shahid is got a lot of business interests. His wife, I believe, is a lawyer for West Edge as well. So, you got a lot of developers on city council and a lot of people with real estate interests.
Again.
I wanted to speak just as we were trying to make sure that, the public was understanding the clarity of the documents in front of us. And maybe we've had an example of that.
Okay, so I want to get to Chief Reynolds when he pops back up, and I see his square up there now, and then Ross. So this is when I got off the plane. And here we go. That I was able to engage.
We still could prohibit someone from open carrying at an event that we permit.
Wow. Wait, what? Why not? What? I'm surprised Second Amendment people haven't said nothing. Palmetto Armory, where y'all at?
Make that a condition of the permit without the ordinance in place. I think what the ordinance does, though, is it clarifies that and expands it to special events and parks permit situations as well. So I think under our current ordinances, we still could prohibit someone from open carrying at an event that we permit.
Okay. Chief Reynolds, you want to add any perspective to this conversation?
I would just say I appreciate the thoughtfulness of this, the detailed research that went into it. It's been very collaborative. I think it's been very well researched. I think there was a lot of outreach to municipal attorneys around the country, other cities.
Everyone but residents, everyone but constituents.
Making sure we balance the First Amendment rights of protesters and how to do it safely, how to respect our monuments and allow other citizens to have access to our monuments, i.e. the Battery, some of the other monuments that to be able to share
same
that
questions
and do it
here,
safely.
Hancock.
And the law very clearly gives us the ability to, has been articulated already, to determine time, place, and manner. We need to do that, and we have been doing that, and this is something that'll further that, that'll help actually those people that are participating in those that want to do it lawfully. Some have chosen not to, but those that want to do it lawfully, that want to apply for a permit, that want to do it safely, this gives them a little bit more information. I think it makes it more palatable for them and for the city.
For you and
but as been articulated, can we move forward without this? Yes. The law is there for us. It supports us in doing those
Look
things.
at Dudley. Y'all see Dudley nodding emphatically?
I think this ordinance adds a little bit more clarity and has been articulated. It connects into this August 15th date. The idea of open carry. When we made the arrest a few days ago, one of the persons who was involved in assaulting a police officer,
this is when things turn. This is when things turn.
Not to get too detailed into that event.
No, get detailed. Get detailed.
That was predictable. It was preventable. It shouldn't have happened, but it did. And one of those individuals had two handguns in his backpack. Some of the individuals in the protests were wearing ballistic vests and helmets and other things.
Because y'all come with militarized police force.
These types of events around the country, when you look at what happened on May 30th of last year, when you look at some of the language being used, the profanity, the lack of cooperation.
Hold up. And see, no one is saying anything. None of your council people. You can respect the police, but you can respectfully object. This little rant, because he didn't prepare his statements, which, you know, in any other city, you know, the chief of police would have to come a little bit better than this, right? Even if they're on some bullshit. You can't police profanity. You can't police that. Even, didn't I beg this question knowing the answer? Even hate speech is protected to an extent. So for him to come here and make these really vague accusations as to how these protests look, when I say this, I don't know how else to keep saying it. You don't see the same type of scrutiny given to literal militias post-Dillon Roof, where a white nationalist walked into a church and killed 9 people. You don't see it. There were no ordinances changed then. There was no urgency around changing anything then. There was no Second Amendment concerns then. There still isn't no Charleston loophole closed. So I don't understand how 24 people walking in front of a Walgreens when they get the right to walk signal, how does that justify changing an ordinance, or how does that justify giving the police this much power to arbitrarily decide whether or not something is permissible? Like profanity? You know, and I told y'all about this. They love coming at us with like, oh, you're violent. Oh, you're violent. This is violent. They love doing that. They never talk about representational violence. They never talk about representational violence. So they never talk about, you worried about profane words, but what about your department, Chick-fil-A Chief Reynolds, literally literally found to have racial bias and using gratuitous force against people who are arrested. So you want to talk about profanity? You want to talk about your history of violence within your police force, right? And this is, I want to back out real quick, y'all. I want to back out real quick here. I'm going to back out real quick. And I shared a clip of this on Instagram. And I know a lot of y'all was like, well, not mean to do that. I know a lot of y'all was like, well, Mika, this was the civil rights struggle. What does that got to do? I want you to know that the history of violence is important to look at. And my point is, I want to arm y'all with information. So none of this is new. The police chief coming out and saying that, oh, these are violent protesters. None of this is new. So I want to pull up. Hold up. I'm going to pause that real quick. I'm going to pull up I Am Somebody, right? The MUSC hospital march. I'm going to fast forward specifically to, now on my page, I put this part, right? I played this part on my page. I got this clip.
And, you know, it helped get things straightened out.
Right, so this is... And
so the next morning at 5 o'clock, we met at the hospital, and all of us, you know, walked and talked and sang and everything else until So the more we walked and talked, looked like the tougher they got. The tougher they got with us, and they still, you know, wouldn't decide to give in. We was women, and we didn't have no weapons or nothing.
Right.
I felt like they wouldn't hardly hit us with those big
the
clubs
rougher and tougher they got,
we didn't
right?
have no weapons. And we didn't went out to fight them, not with no fist fight. We went out to fight them, you know, with the law on our side, you know, to try to win through the law, not by no fist fights.
Now this is the part where I cut it off, but look, this is the
normal routine function of the Medical College Hospital was altered today as picket lines were formed surrounding the institution.
So
some employees...
So the hospital administration or whatever, leadership, I'm assuming this is not government, they said that, oh, well, they altered business. And so by altering the way that they can conduct business by having a picket line, that justified that use of force that you just saw, right? And so listen to how this man you just saw and heard from these black women protesters. You just saw what happened to them for just walking, right? Now, probably what happened is a cop probably touched one of them. Maybe their foot got off the curb, and the cop went in there and started acting crazy. Then you probably that's usually how it happens. Probably what happened at Walgreens too the other day out there with Marcus and BLM. So listen to how they characterize these protesters, and then we're gonna get to another clip. This is nothing new. What Reynolds is doing is nothing new. So now it's the job of the city government and other officials. Now it's their job to paint the protesters as hindrances, as violent protesters, et cetera,
who wanted to come to work were intimidated and
threatened.
Patients are being taken care of by fully qualified personnel. There has been no trouble in the care of patients.
Let me go back.
Surrounding the institution. Some employees who wanted to come to work were intimidated and threatened.
Get out of here.
Patients are being taken care of by fully qualified personnel. There has been no trouble in the care of patients. Some of our employees are doubling up in their duties.
So now,
and some of our functions
So now he's talking about the burden. Oh, the burden. Oh, we don't want to pay these black women what we're paying the white staff. Oh, and they're threatening the people that want to come to work, and they're stopping the business for the day, and they're impeding the level of care we give. And oh, people have to double up, and we have to yada 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 yada. Very anti-labor force, very anti-black, and it's all propaganda. You really think them black women's out there like threatening to beat people up if they go inside? Of course, you know, when it comes to labor disputes, of course, the picket line and, you know, the people who don't support the picket line, of course, there's always back and forth tension and all that, right? We know that. We've seen that. People who go in there and who don't stay with the protest, we know that. I'm from Jersey, but best believe I seen my shit in Philly. See my fair share of SEPTA or, you know, hospital, whoever employees, you know, strike and then like not have their colleagues support them. But threaten?
Postponed unless they are of an emergency nature.
In the hospital, they have white workers doing the same work as black. You know, they might have a white nurse's aide and a black.
I'm going to stop that, right? And then let me see if I can do it. Let me hop over. Again, not new at all. Not new at all. So I'm going to hop over to this. Let me see. To another protest. Or rather, another instance of police brutality in Charleston. The police response is an overreaction to people exercising their First Amendment rights, right? Keep going. Here we go. Here you go. So this is the Charleston 5, right? So this the ILA strike, right? Similar grievances in terms of, you know, hey, y'all not doing right, yada yada yada. Let's get organized. And then we see, here we go. This is what I want. So ILA planned to picket, do their thing as a union, right? And remember, we got union busters all up and through here. I know I'm not going to get into the unions right now. So the ILA boycotting, they had their grievances, their labor disputes, right? And this is how the city of Charleston, who was trying to, along with the attorney general at the time, trying to bust this union up anyway, right?
To reciprocate that type of communication when he realized
this is the police response to
there's going to be 600 cops.
And they filmed this shit. They filmed this shit.
This is a joint law enforcement operation that's scheduled to begin at approximately 16:30 hours today. The arrival of the ship is supposed to be somewhere around 1900 hours. It is the understanding of all public safety agencies involved that this vessel will begin work at approximately 1900 hours and sail from the port of Charleston on Thursday, 20 January at approximately 0700 hours. Now, what we've got in total from those different agencies I've mentioned, we've got about 550 law enforcement officers, okay?
550, y'all.
Our position in this is we want to have such a show of force to project an image that we can't lose this battle.
When you a hammer, everything look like a nail. When you got a warrior mentality, everything is war, right? Let me run that back. Let me run that back. That's crazy.
9 hours. It is the understanding of all public safety agencies involved that this vessel will begin work at approximately 1900 hours and sail from the port of Charleston on Thursday, 20 January at approximately 0700 hours. Now, what we've got in total from those different agencies I've mentioned, we've got about 550 law enforcement officers, okay? So our position in this is we want to have such a show of force to project an image that we can't lose.
Can't lose.
This battle tonight.
So it's win or lose.
And it has all the potential
battle.
of being a battle.
A battle.
But let me preface it by saying this is not a battle that law enforcement can win. This is not going to be solved are settled on the Columbus Street Terminal tonight, the 28th when the next ship comes, or whenever the next ship comes. You communicate with our command post.
Yeah, hold up.
I'd like you to keep
I ripped this from YouTube.
Somebody's getting their ass kicked over at Immigration and Morrison Drive.
But more importantly, Hancock, this is on my IGTV. The whole 50 minutes is right there on my IGTV. So go ahead and click that. Go to my IGTV, scroll down, you'll see Charleston 5. But it's on YouTube, but I ripped it off there. But all the credits are intact. Like I didn't take, of course I didn't. Everybody's credits are intact and all that other stuff. So, but it is on YouTube.
Certainly don't want to hear that, that, hey, I need a relief over whatever location. Please, let's all of us come here healthy and all of us leave healthy. It's going to rain tonight. We're going to get wet. It's going to be cold tonight. So we're going to be wet and cold, okay? Now,
all this over a picket line, y'all. All this over a picket line.
I'd actually sort of put it out of my mind until I saw these buses on the interstate.
Look at this. Look at this.
Was, tour buses, until I came alongside them and saw that they were actually prison buses.
All this because of a labor dispute.
That's when it dawned on me that, wait a minute, ship tonight, prison buses headed to Charleston. These buses are for us. And sure enough, by the time I got down to our headquarters, which was a little further down the street there, as far as the eye can see,
Hancock.
Cops everywhere. I mean, just everywhere.
Please tell them I sent you.
And so I went back into the hall, and we got with the other two presidents here in the port, and we started planning because I was amazed at the manpower. I mean, the resources that being, and I know this was overkill, and I know this was to make us look like, there's no need for us in this state. How dare these guys call the state to spend this kind of resources? Overkill. And and I know we were not going to get nowhere near the ship, so we had a plan that night that we were not going to go down there that night. Make them spend the money, but just don't go down there. We'll come back midnight, reassemble, because certainly if they see we're not coming, they're going to cut that manpower in half. And they were doing that, but then they were, I guess, they were infiltrating our ranks, and everything we were saying was being radioed down to the line. So we
that's
come
usually
back
how it works
midnight,
too, y'all.
They were blocking folks, and our members were intimidated and harassed before they could even get to their building.
All right, let's go ahead. Let's speed it up a little bit. Y'all know Mr. Riley here. He was actually at one of the listening sessions I attended when they did the CPD audit. The Charleston Police Department racial bias audit. He was in the listening session that I attended in West Ashley.
Their ritual of telling us that, this was the line and we should not cross, and it one about trespassing and all that.
See how they?
Of course, our plan was to continue into the line, telling them, I'm going to work. That's my.
Yeah, I'm going to work, right? So the police, law enforcement, even through this ordinance, you could argue, law enforcement sets these guidelines. They tell you, they erect these barriers, they erect these boundaries, either with the assistance of city council or arbitrarily, right? They create this boundary, and once even one pinky nail crosses the boundary, they use that to justify all of that force. You tell me how the scores of workers. You tell me how scores of workers with a labor dispute, right, with the state. You tell me how that justifies 600 cops being unleashed on a handful of ILA workers. You tell me how, but they create these boundaries, and so you saw Chick-fil-A Chief Reynolds do that, right? So Chick-fil-A Chief Reynolds was saying, hey, this happened, that happened, and now we need more power. We need more resources to continue to, and then the kicker is, these are unarmed people. And the protests that Chick-fil-A Chief Reynolds is trying to crack down on, those protests are being led by and attended by unarmed people. Now, of course, we saw the gentleman who had a permit to conceal his weapon, right? That's fine. That's your Second Amendment right. I'm not, you go do your thing, right? But essentially though, it's not like the weapon was being used or brandished or used to threaten or to intimidate, right? The weapon was for the dude's safety, and I know why he had it. If you ever encountered the militias and the 3%ers, I know for a fact people have told me I've got a gun. I brought my gun to this protest because we don't want them to just start killing people. Then you saw Al Cannon show up with a gun at the Battery. So to me, it's like, oh, you created this threat of gun violence, brother. The threat of gun violence been, if you want to call it that, the threat of people using guns to defend themselves or whatever it is, right? To intimidate. That has always been a variable is my point. Guns have always been a variable. Why now is the point? Why now is the question? And why now when someone who leans left has the permit and the weapon, why now does that create a sense of urgency? Again, taking it back, these are unarmed men. These are people who are whose protests don't include brandishing AKs like we've seen in other places throughout the country over the last year or whatnot, right? Right, like in Michigan and whatnot, seeing like the right come up with AKs and guns during the insurrection and all that. This is not that. And the protests that are being led downtown are not that. So why was the urgency? Where did that come from? It's manufactured. Chief Reynolds has manufactured a threat because guns have always been a variable at these protests. This is South fucking Carolina, okay? Palmetto Armory ain't no joke. They out here advertising heavy. They got a very healthy, husky ad budget. Okay, guns is a daily occurrence here. So why now? Why now are guns a threat now? Wasn't a threat after Dylan Roof went to Burger King. Wasn't a threat. Wasn't a threat when that man pulled up with that pickup truck and tried to intimidate those left-leaning protesters last year. It wasn't a threat when he had a whole car full of guns. That wasn't that. No one said anything about the ordinances being amended then. Why now are guns an issue? And stop painting these people as violent threats. And like again, you saw if you just watched the hospital strike, they started to say that those black women, those aunties, were threatening the workforce that chose not to boycott. So they create this propaganda, they create and concoct fiction, and then we got city council going on and wagging their heads emphatically, Dudley and all them, behind a threat that's not even a threat.
I'm working a shift that's at Columbus.
All right, so let's fast forward to the part.
Going to work, that's my job.
I'm going to work. I'm going to work.
At Columbus Street that day. And of course, as we approached the line, there immediately
look at these men, casually dressed.
Police would take their batons and sort of brace
That's
you
the
back
news media.
the line, and we kept walking in.
They kept walking past the line. I'm going to work.
Of course.
Look at that, creating a confrontation.
In my opinion, and pushing some guys, when they put the batons on their chest, the instinct that they'll grab the baton.
Yeah.
Do one of these things.
I'm a man first.
Have a shoving match, and I saw where there was one policeman that was in a pulling match and with one of our guys, and our guys won.
Thank you, B-Man.
He fell, and that started stirring it up a little bit. So, my role then was to diffuse it as any way I can.
So it wasn't 15 minutes maybe at the most when we got the call that it was happening. It was fighting, And I know that was the last time I saw the other two presidents that night because we just ran down the stairs, kept running, and by the time we turned down there, it was a war zone. I'd never been in the military, but I've been to war, because that was a war that night.
And remember the police, I guess that was the police chief at the time, he said it was a battle, right? He used that terminology, right? So they definitely came ready for war.
To get to prepare, because I still was under the impression that some people were still following me. And when I got in, after getting to the terminal, when I landed on the rock, it got the attention of...
I'm trying to get to the other part. The whole documentary is on YouTube. It's on my IGTV. So is the hospital worker strike. That's on IGTV too. Last summer is when I posted most of these, so you have to scroll down. Trying to get to, here we go, this part of the video.
Could be good.
So this is part of the video that it gets really graphic. Remember the police chief said it was gonna rain? Look at this. It's all because of protests. This all is First Amendment. First Amendment. So you mean to tell me, even if they crossed that trespassing boundary, you mean to tell me that you needed 600 cops with batons, SWAT gear, buses, zip ties, helmets, Kevlar, dogs? You mean to tell me because a handful of men want to cross a line to get to work, that is just, look at this. This looks like some other country. This don't make no sense. And this is what's happening today. Yo, I'm not gonna be able to get to the Olympic stuff today. Look at this, look at this. Look at this.
Yes, I'm calling again. We got an individual that's down. He needs medical attention badly. Y'all need to send somebody. This is my second or third time calling y'all. We are tax-paying citizens.
Come on.
Y'all need to get y'all. Pardon me.
Tax-paying citizens.
Y'all been saying that for the last 20 minutes. If this guy died or something happened to him seriously, y'all gonna be responsible for it. Because it's not like y'all didn't get the call. Y'all got the call. Y'all not saying to nobody out there. You keep saying somebody en route, and it don't take no EMS 30 or 40 minutes to get somebody in Charleston. This is the next call. And we're not calling you. We're not made 5 or 6.
Wow. So there was those that sustained a lot of injuries there. And 5 protesters were arrested and held in prison, held in jail. You watch the documentary. It's very, very important to watch the whole documentary so you understand the dispute, you understand what was going on, you understand why the state, the AG, and everybody was applying pressure. This also helps you. This is 2000, so I had already went off to school. So it will also help you understand Nikki Haley's stance and anti-workforce, anti-labor union stance, and also her priorities in wooing businesses here, promising them a workforce that can't organize, that can't unionize, right? As we've seen at Boeing and other places. You'll understand government better when you, after having watched this, at least the last 20 years, you'll understand it better if you start with the Charleston 5 documentary, right? And again, to my original point, so this is reflective for Charleston. This is reflective for law enforcement in general. This is not exclusive to Charleston, but I assure you that these are just 2 incidences, right, where the police have overreacted to public sentiment, right? And so this is what you're gonna get whenever the public, and that's why it was so weird. I really I arrived at that word and I'm gonna stay there. So weird to see Ross Appel attack his constituency. Like, why are you attacking the 7 people who call every week? Why are you attacking people who are engaging in their city government? That's just really weird grievance for him to lay out there at that point. Okay, you don't agree with the 7 people that call, but why attack them? You've got power. You've got power, Ross. You hold an important position on city council. You have a great education. You have a career. You know, like you're in a privileged position. Why would you punch down? And why would you, even if you disagree with the sentiment from the public, why attack them and act as if we're really out here telling you that we want the right to be violent? That's not what we're saying. And why would you believe the police over the people? Like how does the police have how does the police carry more weight than the people? Like, why, if anything, why isn't it all like taken into consideration with the same value? So let's listen to Chick-fil-A chief.
With the police, there's a need for us to have clarity in these conversations and these events to make sure that everybody, all the participants, the protesters, the police, public safety, our citizens, our businesses are protected and that.
Yeah. Let's get to Ross. I think Ross thought he had a career-defining moment. He actually had what was the equivalent of Mark Sanchez butt fumble here. Because if y'all don't use this for fodder, if y'all don't use this moment right here, if y'all don't use this to collect old boy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I would just say that, by my read, these ordinances are not really major substantive departures from existing
really?
practices.
Then why you rushing
it's more about
why you rushing
streamlining and making the process clear.
They gaslight the shit out of y'all. If it wasn't important, if it wasn't significant, why you holding a special session? Why you holding a special session on a Thursday? The previous reading took place 9 days prior. Why didn't you wait till today? Huh? It wasn't significant, huh, Ross? And then why y'all moving so fast? Why you got the police chief there? Why is all of council there? This was a priority. You fast-tracked this intentionally. Don't gaslight us now. Keep it real. If you're gonna come out and have a rebuttal, if you're gonna have a rebuttal for the activist base, make sure your rebuttal is founded in actual fact, because you and your colleagues, Ross, fast-track this ordinance amendment. Don't sit there and blow smoke up my ass. Come on.
And more efficient, and ultimately making the jobs of our brave men and women officers easier. We had a incident this week. We've had multiple incidents over the last year and a half, and I don't think I need to remind anybody on this council.
What about the incidents of police brutality?
If we had a public hearing on this where people could call in on Zoom,
yes,
we'd probably hear from 7 people. We all know who they are. But let's think about the thousands and thousands of other people we represent that we're called upon to make decisions on behalf.
And that was funny too. That was cute too. Yeah, the 7 people that call into Zoom, right? Like, oh yeah, so and it diminished their impact, diminished their voices, and then you say, well, what about the 1,000 people we don't hear from? Now, while I will say that, a vocal minority shouldn't have final say on anything. I'm not saying that, right? That, me, Rita, Marcus, whomever might call in, I'm not saying we all should have final say on anything, being a vocal minority, but don't act like vocal minorities don't get shit done in America. Hello, we got red states with way smaller population sizes stymieing all kinds of legislation from coast to coast when it comes to voting rights, when it comes to infrastructure. So don't act like vocal minorities don't get shit done. Don't act like a vocal minority ain't something you should pay attention to, because I'm quite literally watching a vocal minority hold this country hostage and not get the people what they need by way of governance. So stop acting like vocal minorities don't actually have power and influence over actual legislation. Let's chill out with the gaslighting and you think everybody's dumb because we didn't go to law school. How about we can use common fucking sense, read a couple of papers once or twice a week, and fucking contextualize this shit for what the fuck it is. Like, I hate a smarmy motherfucker. Like, I hate a fucking sanctimonious motherfucker. I hate that more than anything. You feckless and you smarmy Get the fuck out of here. Say that shit to my fucking face. Call me 7 in my fucking face. Because, last year it wasn't 7 motherfucking people in the motherfucking streets. Quite clearly, it wasn't 7 people. And quite clearly, when Marcus was out there, it wasn't 7 fucking people. When we're organizing around the Gadsden Creek, it ain't 7 fucking people. When the DHEC hearing was held 2 years ago, it wasn't 7 fucking people. But guess what? They're going to fill that creek anyway, right? Because the developers have the final say. Because the powers that be have the final say. You keep telling us our shit don't matter. We know. You keep siding with developers and cops. We know. They keep beating us and killing us, and you still turn around and you support them and give them more money and more power. We know. There was over 100 people who came up to a microphone and said, we don't want the creek filled. The Dutch dialogue said, don't fill the creek. What are y'all going to go ahead and do? Approve the fucking permit to fucking fill the creek because the dollar speaks. So please stop acting like vocal minorities don't get shit done. Please just stop with that bullshit. I hate a smarmy motherfucker. I hate it. You acting like you saying hot bars or some shit. You're not saying shit, and you saying this shit on Zoom. You played yourself. You playing yourself. And you think there's not more than one way to protest? This is where I got frustrated. Not at Marcus directly, but at how we organize here in Charleston. Let's get together. You don't gotta fuck with me. You ain't gotta want to braid my hair. You don't gotta want to fucking buy me a birthday present. But let's get together and come up with a strategy, because there's more than one way to protest this city council. There are all kinds of ways to protest the city council so you don't get jammed up, so you're not getting locked up, so that your protesters don't have to make contact with law enforcement. There are ways to actually apply pressure and to humiliate the city. The city, above anything else, love a fucking PR campaign. And when you fuck with that PR campaign, when you pop that bubble for the tourists that come here, that's when they start moving. So who's to stop us from going to the airport and acting like we picking up family members and holding up signs like an old-fashioned limo driver that has an activist message on it? Who's to stop us from holding court in public places like that with messages? Who's to stop us from getting a projector and throwing shit up on city buildings with certain messaging on there? Who's to stop us from doing that? Who's to stop us from putting a bunch of decals in the bathroom of whatever establishment on a busy brunch Sunday? Who's to stop us from our subversive ways of organizing? No one can stop that shit. No one can stop that shit. Who's to stop us from going to brunch and having really loud, obscene conversations in front of tourists about what's really going on? Who's to stop that? You don't have to march every time. You don't got to go to Marion Square every time. You ain't got to keep doing this thing where you just continuously expose these protesters to law enforcement, and they're going to keep ramping up. And y'all think it's just an ordinance now. Look at what happened to old boy last year. Now you got federal fucking crimes, because that's the next shit they're going to pull out on you when you go out there in them streets. And if it's too many people, they're going to bring federal fucking charges on your ass. And they're going to trump that shit up. They're going to trump that shit up, and they're going to railroad you like they railroad every other black person who they don't want in this motherfucking city, like they do the Palmetto Rose Bearers, and like they do everybody else. Any black body not serving, not bowing, not scraping, they will make sure they will trump up a charge, and they're going to bring it to you. Come on. I hate a smarmy motherfucker. I'm sorry. I'm about to dip. I hate that shit. Let's get organized. Let's get projectors. Let's go to the airport. That's what they really Look at how much money they spent on that airport, on getting certain direct flights from certain European countries and shit. Look at where they put the money is where y'all need to be. Where they put the money is where y'all need to be. Yes, we can still protest in Charleston on the peninsula. I ain't giving away no fucking, this ain't even fucking, I ain't afraid to say this publicly. You can still protest down. You gotta be smart. You gotta be smart. You gotta be smart. Who says that you can't make decals? All these businesses that's like that, oh, Black Lives Matter this and Black Lives Matter that, and I'm a host Biden, and I'm gonna have this black square up, and I'm a DM Mika on the low and tell her she's doing a good job, but not saying nothing publicly. All those people and businesses, who's to say you can't get decals printed up or something they could put in their window? A sign or something they could put in there. Who's to say you couldn't do that? That's protest. Right? Who's to say, like, I'm just naming little tiny things. Like, there's things you can do. Who's to say you can't fly a plane over Folly Beach with certain messages on that shit? Who's to say you can't do that? Who's to say you can't get a billboard? Who's to say you can't do that? Who's to say you can't print out, pay for a big ad in the Sunday paper? Pay for a whole page, pool resources. Who said you can't do that? Who's to say you can't pull up on a curb somewhere where somebody live and say something? Who said you can't do that? Hey, the smarmy motherfucker now. Come on. Don't act like you the smartest motherfucker. You're not even the smartest motherfucker on this Zoom screen. Real rat.
Of every single day, right? They don't want chaos in the streets. They don't want another May 30th. They don't show up to Zoom calls. They don't show up to city council.
Corny.
But it's our job to represent them today. I think this is going to come off bad. I don't care what these activists have to say about this ordinance. We have a duty and an obligation for this city to keep this city safe. Some of the activity and content.
Safe for who? You law and order, right? I ain't trying to get messy, but I'm gonna try to get messy. Abide the laws. Abide the laws. We need y'all to keep people safe. We need people to keep people safe. Law abiding. Keep people safe. Oh, protesters aren't keeping us safe. They're a threat. You know what I think a threat is? Drinking and driving. That's a threat. That's a threat. You know what I mean? Like, oh, law and order. Law and order. Oh. Law and order. Obey law and order. Make sure you obey law and order. Oh no, no fits over here. It's bad enough I gotta go to a Sinclair station. Law and order, you gotta pay. You got. Oh, took loans from an elderly woman in his care without the courts. Okay. Law and order. This council got the nerve. Got the nerve to talk about law and order. I don't care if it got dropped or not. I don't give a fuck if it got dropped or not. Still got popped. Still got popped. Still got a mugshot. Law and order. Oh, you gotta abide by the laws. You got 3 council people right now active. 3 people. From the mayor to good old Harry, actively out here breaking and bending motherfucking laws. Channel 2, you wildin'. Channel 2, you wildin'. You got 3 people right now in office. 3 people out here. One of them, whether or not the DUI charge get dropped or not, he still called y'all a homophobic slur, still threatened violence against y'all, still was about to participate in a Proud Boys rally, right? Y'all wildin'. I mean, I know TV news is struggling with the ads and whatnot. Mayor Tecklenburg taking loans from a woman. Brady DUI. Harry Griffin DUI, but then dropped. Harry Griffin calling his fellow colleagues a bad slur. And what Ross Love, because he's so smarmy. He's so smarmy. He's so smarmy. Only thing he good for. How you say his dumbass name? Only thing he good for. 2 P's. Only thing he good for is ganging up on Harry Griffin. I can't even scroll to get to his shit. Only thing he good for is ganging up on Harry Griffin. I'm gonna find that shit. Was that July 4th he got popped? No, it was when did Harry get popped? And up here, look at him. Great job, great work, y'all. I'm trying to find a tweet when he up there talking about he gonna get a ride share. I can't even find a damn tweet. I ain't got time. But y'all get my motherfucking point. Y'all get my point. Only thing he is good for is dunking on Harry. That ain't hard. Anybody can dunk on Harry Griffin. Shit, you could accidentally dunk on that dude, right? Right? Printing out the financials of city council members. You saw how, and that's the thing, like, remember, go back, if y'all been watching, I'm about to hop off, but if y'all were watching from the tippy top, I told y'all, like, I get annoyed when I spend so much energy. I get up every morning from Monday through Friday from 7:30 to 9 or even 10, and I do this, and I do a newsletter, and I do clips on social media, and I elevate issues, and I issue calls to action, and then somebody in my inbox are coming in like, well, what's next? Like, I'm literally showing you, free game. I'm showing you how, right? Y'all, the Twitch and the Facebook people are lifting up ideas in all kinds of ways. Print out the financials. You saw what I did with the Greek Freak. I looked into the earmarks. I used the reporting that exists about the earmarks that Todd Rutherford passed on to his mother-in-law and his ex-wife, right? I done showed you that, right? So why can't y'all do the same thing? I'm not coming at you like that. I'm just saying, like, y'all could do the same thing. Print out them city financials. Print out them city financials. Put them on black, like, right? Like, it's just like you out here talking about law and order. Now I know I know this right here what the mayor did. I know this is white collar crime. I know how that's viewed very differently, right? But I mean, Brady out here. That ain't no that ain't no white collar crime. You know what I'm saying? You got 2 sitting council people with mugshots from DUIs, right? And nobody said shit when this shit popped off. And I walk lightly because if he got addiction issues, yeah. But still, you a sitting city council person, you should be held to account for your lack of judgment, right? Right? And Ross, you didn't dunk on your colleague here. You ain't dunk on your colleague there. So quick to dunk on somebody. I totally passed that. I just hate a smarmy dude, yo. You not fly. Like, dunking on Harry Griffin is like dunking on your 12-year-old cousin when you grown. Like, that ain't nothing. What are you talking about, the First Amendment? Fuck you. Said something real crazy about a ride share. I'm trying to find it. It ain't that important. Don't send it to me. I know. Don't send it to me. I know. All right. Please don't inundate me with Ross tweets. It exists. Y'all get my point. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, y'all worried about law. Whose laws? Who following what laws? What laws do you care about? Right? I ain't even gonna play the rest. That's it. I'm gonna pop off. But that's it. Yeah, thank you for saying you need to hear it. That's it. I just want to leave it there. I'm sorry I got a little hype. Hey, Letitia, they had pop-up meetings during business hours. How can the thousands respond? To that point, Letitia, to that point, exactly. That was a 3:30 meeting on a Thursday. It's just the 7 people. Yeah. Oh, 7 people. Yeah. I don't expect people in my family, I don't expect my cousins to be able to, who are taking care of children and heading households and all of that. I don't think it's necessarily easy for them to break away at 3:30 and come and talk to you about ask you specific questions about these ordinances. And when you make the process for engagement needlessly labyrinthian, you gotta go through all this just to find the goddamn agenda. Then you can't, no public participation. Got it. So that Zoom in there, okay, you publicly disclose the Zoom, whatever. I guess maybe by law you gotta do that, but we can't call in, we can't use it, we can't put comment under the YouTube video, all of that, right? Okay, you make, participation, you make it almost impossible, right? All right. Tomorrow we'll talk more about how now the city council and the mayor and everybody love rape. Matter of fact, I got time. Whoever watches later, you watch it later. Whoever got a dip piece, I see you later. But yeah, let's get to it. Let's get to it. Let me open up my files. I still think it's dirty that I had to pay cops individually, make checks out to cops. Y'all ain't convinced me that should be standard practice. Write checks to cops when you a regular ass. Now don't sound right. I'm gonna have to get somebody else to help me with that. But I uploaded some screenshots. He said I can share them, so I'm assuming that means I can share his name. So let me see. I want to go back to the earliest one. So shout out to Mr. Turner. Shout out to Mr. Turner, right? Mr. Turner would drop these bombs in my, you used to affiliated with Burke, used to hold it down at Burke. Says now your young sister Raven Saunders has made this is when she just made Team USA track and field in the shot put for the second time, right? This is the second Olympics, right? And watch how, and this is before she won anything. This is when she qualified. And watch how Charleston media, Charleston brand, CCSD will capitalize on it. 4 years ago, they did nothing until the national media camera showed up. Raven was a student at Burke High School. She played bass, drum in the marching band and varsity basketball. As spring came, he was informed by Mr. McLeod that she would not be a part of band anymore because she was concentrating on track. Raven didn't have any help. She was self-taught through YouTube videos, y'all. The YouTube videos. She was self-taught. She was not provided a place to practice, so she practiced in a lot. Stonyfield has a track, but between recreation, the city, right? The city, CCSD, and no upkeep that was done, other than cutting grass or marking the field and the track. It says the track hasn't been used before since Hugo. But none of those names mentioned provided her anything during her time at Burke senior year when she broke national high school records for indoor track. She won everything that year. And then what you saw this weekend that I couldn't engage in, you saw the mayor, you saw all these different, and I don't know what WCBD Channel 2 News was doing. I don't know what WCBD Channel 2 News was doing. Let's get to it real quick, and I'm gonna bounce. I don't know what they were doing, but they was like, "Oh, we're gonna produce these feel-good human interest stories and feature everybody," but like, okay, the coach is cool. Let me see. And they did it too with Camacho Quinn. The Boricua from Ladson. They like, oh yeah, let's get in there. They had all these, y'all see all these watch parties.
A special watch party for one of our very own here in the Lowcountry. Burke High School graduate Raven Saunders will compete in the qualifying rounds in shot put at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. News 2's Amaris Jenkins joins us live from Burke High School this morning. Amaris, we're both in our green this morning in support of Raven. What an exciting day.
Anyway, they did all these stories talking to all these elected officials about Raven's success, people who wasn't in the gym shooting with Raven. We'll talk more about it tomorrow, but it just was really weird. And then eventually they got the hint and started finding family members to talk to about it, which is important, right? It's crazy. I'm trying to find the recent report. Like they did eventually talk to Raven too. They did a one-on-one with Raven. Carolyn Murray, who's the Burke alum who does that thing. But it was just really, really weird.
Rally for Raven kicked off this morning at
Rally for Raven. And y'all know she went on to win the silver medal, but a lot of it came through her own determination. Her own hard work. And I don't speak for Raven. I don't know her personally. I don't know none of her kin. But to me, it's like, where was this love before she was famous? Where was this love in between Olympic trials? The support, unless she comes out and contradicts it, the support just really wasn't there. But you saw the mayor and whatnot jump up there and claim credit, for this person's success, or claim a little bit of it.
Oh man, it was more than that.
And what I like about Raven too, because I want to see how clumsily they wrap their arms around her after she won her silver medal in shot put. I want to see how clumsily they wrap their arms around this bold, brash member of the LGBTQ community, someone who talks about being, masculine lesbian, someone who tweets about it, someone who's throwing up protest signs on the podium. I want to see them embrace. Since Ross hates protesters so much, what you think about Raven raising her hands in an X formation for all oppressed people? What do you think about that? Since you hate protests so much, what do you think, Ross, about that protest? Because I thought that shit was fly. That's the way you use your platform, right? How do you wrap I want to see them wrap their clumsy ass arms around this bold brash, this purple and green haired, masculine, self-identified lesbian. Let's go. I want to see you wrap your hand around that when you really don't give a fuck. You just care about that fucking silver medal. You don't really care about the person. And then they love to glom on to the trauma porn. They love that. Oh, she came up from rock bottom. She shouldn't have came up from rock bottom. Where were the support systems? Why did Stony Field look that way? Why didn't Burke have the same resources and facilities and schools you could find somewhere else within Charleston County? Why she had to learn how to throw a shot put, through YouTube and other means? Huh?
That tank, it was definitely more in the tank. I really think that second one, let me see. Yeah, that second one would have been it. I'm just kidding. But, it was great. It was a great competition. Some great ladies out there. Everybody brought their A game. And, I was just looking forward to, constantly pushing. Once my friends, I seen that they didn't make the final, I was like, I have to make sure that I keep pressing for them. It feels weird because you're not supposed to mix silver and gold. But
look at that with grills,
but I do it.
Piercings.
I love the fact that I'm still able to add to the medal count to be able to make so many people back at home in Charleston, South Carolina proud. People all around the world proud. People in the LGBTQ community proud. People that are struggling with mental health awareness proud. So I'm just looking happy to inspire and motivate so many other people all around the world. Hey, Charleston, my whole city, Burke.
I don't know my internet.
Burke High School. Okay. Burke High School. We here. Burke High School.
Burke High School is at the Olympics, y'all.
We here.
Do y'all get how powerful that is?
That's my church, by the way. Mama, I love you. Oh man, I love you. Everybody, I love you. We're gonna be back.
All right.
Your mask is awesome.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Is that just for like fun? Is that to
nah,
intimidate people?
See, listen, if I put this mask on, I don't know if your camera's still gonna be here. I don't know. Do you want that investment to go to? I don't want to bust your stuff up, so I ain't gonna put it on. I can put it on.
That's okay.
All right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold it right there. Shout out to Raven. I don't want to diminish the moment. The moment is way more significant than the bullshit behind the scenes. The moment needs to be celebrated. So I'm gonna make sure I create enough space. As hot as I get, I'm gonna make sure I create enough space that we celebrate this achievement. It really is no small feat that a Black girl from this city who had to create her own way out. It's no small feat for someone with Raven's background to achieve the height she's achieved. She shouldn't have crossed all over those boundaries and whatnot, those barriers to entry, right? She shouldn't have had to do all that, but she did it. And she did that amidst, disclosing more information about her mental health crisis and dealing with suicidal thoughts and depression, right? She did it amidst all of that. And as someone who is bipolar 2, has crippling anxiety sometimes, who is going through it right now, this story to me just really spoke to me. And so just as again, don't know Raven, ain't never rubbed shoulders to my knowledge. I'm 40, she's younger than me, but there's so many things that I see in Raven that I see in myself. And I'm just I'm proud to just live in the city where she's from. So, I want to make sure I hold space to celebrate this amazing accomplishment. And not just her, Camacho as well, Camacho Quinn. Asia Wilson still out there. I think USA women's basketball still undefeated. That ain't no joke. This is all South Carolina, and this is amazing to see these Black and Afro-Latina or just from the African diaspora, see these brown and Black people rise to the occasion culturally. It feels so significant in a place, in a state, in a city that is hell-bent on erasing your cultural contributions. It's so important to lift up Raven and all of the Olympians. I'm gonna end it on this note because I didn't have the emotion to do this. I had emotional bandwidth. Shout out to Courtney who tweeted at me this morning. We lost a great one. Of course, we lost a great one. Let me just focus on that. We lost Jim French, y'all, 94 years old. This man ran the Charleston Chronicle, historically Black newspaper. Here, y'all know me. Y'all know my love of historical Black newspapers from the South, from South Carolina specifically. John H. McCrae, Majeska Simpkins, the Afro Planet, the Afro Citizen. Excuse me, the Georgetown Planet, the Afro Citizen, the Lighthouse and Informer. So many papers. They weren't just papers. They worked against the establishment here during a time when it was illegal to be Black and not in bondage, right? During apartheid here, during Jim Crow, whatever you want to call it, these papers gave Black people a voice and pushed back on the establishment. If you don't read any book this year, you read Newspaper Wars. You read Newspaper Wars by Sid Bedingfield. There's a white man, but he got it. He got it down pat. And when you think about the history of Black media in this state and the function it served, it's important to lift up names like Jim French, who we just lost. And I don't know what the future looks like for the Chronicle. Shout out Barney Blakely. But like, I don't know what the future looks like in terms of ownership. That's why I'm on Twitch, because I know legacy media, you know what I mean? It ain't what it used to be. And so we have to create new and dynamic ways to reach people and give people information. We got to create new and dynamic ways for Black people in South Carolina, in Charleston, to gain access to the truth, to divest from corporate media and support independent media. We gotta create more ways, and this brother right here paved the way. I wish there was a Black journalist that could have wrote this story for Postal Career. I was trying not to say it, but I wish, when our icons come and go, I wish we had a Black media corps in place to write about how significant this is to us. We don't. Adam Parker wrote another Black story, and I'm like, okay, I'll read it for the facts, and then I'll go somewhere else to get more about this man. I'll call Barney up and talk to him about it. But I will be updating any of my followers on the funeral arrangements are listed, I think, in this piece by the Post and Courier. Use your library card, put it in Newsbank, put Jim French, Charleston Chronicle, put it in Newsbank, get this story that was published, I believe this morning, if not yesterday. Learn more about Jim French and his contributions to Black media here. Let me just read it real quick. Again, I wish it was a Black journalist that could handle this piece. You know what I'm saying? Like it just would be right. It would be fitting if somebody Black could talk about this instead of a white man who not even from here. James French, who played a central role in Low Country's African American community as founder of the editor of the Charleston Chronicle, has died. Okay, so he died on July 31st. I didn't know that. He was 94. For decades, French's Chronicle was both a gathering point for Black leaders as means to distribute information about important issues impacting Africa. I'm already not interested in reading what he wrote. All right, I'm just not. He just don't move me at all. All right, y'all. Get used to seeing my beautiful face for longer. That helps you plan accordingly. Get used to seeing my face past 9, all right? I appreciate y'all for watching. Let me go get my nails fixed, because how can I give a smarmy council person a middle finger if I ain't got my manicure right? I can't do it. You know what I mean? Can't do it. All right, y'all. See y'all tomorrow morning, 7:30 sharp. We'll talk more about Raven and all the people who wasn't in the gym shooting with her. We're going to put them on blast a little bit more. We're going to keep talking, all right? Keep protesting. Keep coming up with smart ways to speak back and to talk back. Keep doing it. Ain't no ordinance can hold down the people. Ain't no ordinance can hold down the people. Our people come from more. Shoot, the paper was an activist tool, was a means of protest, right? So let's create our own ways to protest, all right? No ordinance can keep us down, all right? We will keep protesting police violence. See you tomorrow morning. Bye.